Afternoon, welcome to this edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show. My name is Leon Jones. Today we are going to talk about the diversity of thought. And the reason why I'm bringing this topic to the surface is because we have a number of events, particularly the political election that just ended roughly 17 days ago. And what you have is you have one group who doesn't accept the results, and you have another group who does accept the results. But I'm even go deeper than that, because part of the diversification of thought is being able to listen to what's being conveyed. And see, the problem with a number of folks is we are so quick to take a position to air out our grievances or put our point across. We don't even hear 75% of what the other person is saying. And this is when you get into the match of agreeing or disagreeing. Now, when I do videos, I come from a fair and balanced or an objective point of view. And the reason why I use objectivity is to create balance. I don't like the same bias. Now, do we all have bias in us? Certainly. And I'll give you an example of my bias. I'm a Baltimore Raven fan. Do I think they're the best team? In my mind, I think they're the best team. But I'm just a fan of the Baltimore Ravens. That's a biased approach. But when I take the situation and break it down, I could be a Baltimore Raven fan and look at the pros and cons. Say, okay, they got a pretty good defense, a lackluster offense. Their special teams, they need work. They need improvement in these areas. So I'm explaining being a Baltimore Raven fan, but the objective approach is they have to improve in certain areas to become a complete team. The reason why listening is crucial is because thoughts get misunderstood. And the worst thing that you could go about any type of communication or negotiation is texting. Why? Because everybody doesn't text the same way. Some people use complete sentences like myself. Other people use abbreviations. But nevertheless, when you don't have a diversity of thought, you don't grow. This is what's wrong with academia. When you take college courses, particularly in the social science department, you're going to get one point of view. And if you don't go by that one point of view, your grade is going to suffer, which to me, that's a form of fascism when you eliminate one side of the equation. Growth is promoted by listening and having a dialogue. When you listen and not react, you don't have to agree with the position of the other person or the other party, but respect what they are conveying. Don't rush them through their point. You can question the other party's point once they're finished. And one of the big problems I see when it comes to listening is you get some individuals that want to overtalk the other person. So when two people are talking at the same time, nothing is being conveyed. You don't hear each other. Why? Because you're trying to invoke your feelings and you're trying to defend your point of view. Instead of being defensive about your point of view, sit back and learn from the other party regarding their point of view. You ever heard that old saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks? Well, that is true. And the word stubborn comes to mind. Sometimes narcissistic comes to mind. That's because the person doesn't want to learn new tricks. They believe that their way is the only way. Now, if you just heard the words that I just conveyed, this person is not growing. So when you don't listen, you end up doing something out of character, particularly if you go in a situation that you have no experience in. Like if I'm a welder, I go weld a beam, I want to put a full or fillet weld. If I never read the plans, I wouldn't know what a full or fillet weld is. And if I wasn't listening to how to weld two pieces of steel together to attach it, I'm going to make a mistake and I could harm myself. Listening involves a lot of patience. But a good listener is going to take notes as well. And you can go back and take what was said and break it down. Now, another aspect of thought is negotiation skills. It's definitely crucial when you have a contract. When you're dealing in my industry of construction and in the purchasing or procurement industry, you're going to utilize the agreement. Why do you need the agreement? Because if there is no agreement and an event happens, like one party runs out on a contract that they both made, well, you breach the contract and you hold that other person liable for the compensation that's owed. Now, when you negotiate, what are you doing when you negotiate? You're compromising. In other words, you can come with any topic, like politics. I like to discuss politics, but politics is based on negotiation. This is why individuals, and I had my frat brothers, go back and forth on Facebook with me. Some Democrats, some Republicans. Well, one of the problems that most folk don't see with politics is they're so partisan. They take a point of view of the Democrat or the Republican, and they use that as carte blanche. Well, in politics, if you're going to get a bill passed, there's going to be negotiation that takes place. And you have to negotiate. You have to have a balance. Now, how do you negotiate? Well, if two parties are trying to put out a program and they come from two different points of views on that program, well, when you debate, nothing is going to get done. Because both of you are taking a position that you're right. You have to come in and put the information on the table, and then you disseminate it. Now, what's dissemination mean? It means you scatter out the information. You let everybody brainstorm, and everybody's going to put together a thought. Now, the proper negotiation that comes in is this. You look at what you both agree on. And you negotiate it. And you negotiate it being nonpartisan. But the proper negotiation techniques come from listening the pros and cons. And if you're able to do that, you then communicate it properly. But communication, again, has a skill. You can't communicate anything without some feedback. And you must be able to take feedback once you communicate something. You see, I can tell you I'm going to go ahead and make a sweet potato pie. But I'm going to be asked what ingredients am I going to put in that sweet potato pie? You know why? Because there are different variations of sweet potato pie. It's just like a bill if I passed, or a politician passes. There's going to be different types of bills. Now, you always hear this in communication. It's not what you say, how you say it. That is true. Because when it comes to any type of thought, listening, communication, and we're lumping thought and communication and negotiation, and then I'm going to talk a few minutes about conflict resolution. All is under diversity of thought, because you need those 4 subtopics to utilize the thought process. Now, communicating comes in different styles. You have your autocratic style, you have your visionary style, your democratic style, your laissez-faire style. You could go ahead and check that video out that I did on the principles of leadership, the communication of leadership, and the traits of leadership. It's a 3-video series that I did, and I break down all of the information regarding the leadership. And some of that information is coming back to light in this video, because communication does have different styles, but you must utilize those styles in certain instances. You can't use them all the time. In other words, if you want to get something quick, you have to communicate it autocratically. But if you need some feedback from other parties before you make a decision, that's when you communicate it using the democratic style. And if you have a vision and you want people to follow your vision, you have to put your vision on the table and brainstorm that vision to see if you're going in the right direction. That goes to my next point. When you disagree about something, and I can tell you right now, particularly with black folk, one thing we don't know how to do is disagree or conflict resolute. We get emotional if somebody else has a different point of view than me. We start the name calling, the insulting, the shaming tactics. And at the end of the day, what happens? Nothing gets done, but it could turn violent depending on what the situation is. So what's the proper way to disagree? My tactic here on the 401 Talk Zone radio show is very clear. I'll put out a topic after I researched it. There's no right or wrong about the topic, and I'll let my audience decide. And then I take the information, if it's presented back to me, clear. I utilize that information to grow from. And I'm putting out the topic for my audience to grow as well, because you have to put different variations of information out and communicate it properly. And at the end of the day, it's going to help your skills. And you have to use these skills to quantify the diversity of thought. And this is, again, going back to the college atmosphere, because colleges are so far to the left, you lose that thought process. We talk more about diversity of race, discrimination. We talk about sexism, hypergamy, feminism. We utilize those isms and those other words of political correctness or non-political correctness to satisfy the status quo. But the real diversity of thought comes from individuals who have an idea. And when you market in business, you must have an idea. It's called idea generation. Now, the true tactic to having a diversity of thought and to clean up all the agreeing and disagreeing is Number one, okay, when you put out any topic, how are people going to receive it? And in a politically correct culture today, you have the left in this country that really wants to minimize free speech. They want their speech, but they don't want to be told the truth about themselves. So at the end of the day, you have some people who are afraid of criticism, the truth. And when you do not put the truth or bear facts or bear any type of collective data to utilize for any subject matter, this is where you're going to have the problems. And the problems are going to be miscommunication. Some people, you can put facts in front of the table and they just don't get it. They just want to be disagreeable just to be disagreeable. Those are individuals that you're not going to be able to change. And this is where you get the, I cannot utilize this old dog here. And dating, you got some people, and dating is a very good example because you have to use a lot of diversity of thought, compromise, conflict resolution, listening. And when you have one party that wants everything his or her way, you're wasting time. Because at the end of the day, they're going to be the way they are when they came into the relationship or trying to get to know them. And what they're going to use inside a relationship is listening. They're either going to put their hands in their ears and ignore what you're saying, or they're going to overtalk you, especially when you are conveying a point that they don't want to hear. Number two, they're not going to want to negotiate with you or compromise with you because they want to see everything their way and they become very narcissistic in that behavior. And it's also a system or a symptom. It is a system. It is a system of diversity of thought. But the symptom is schizophrenia. I didn't call it schizophrenia, but it is a symptom of schizophrenia. And what that symptom is false and delusional beliefs. You can't see outside your own beliefs, even if they are degenerate beliefs. They're not correct beliefs. They might be correct in your own mind. And the reason why I'm using a relationship as an example, because this is what happens. This is why relationships break up very easily. Because individuals don't want to deal with the truth. In actuality, a lot of relationships, in my humble opinion, are out of convenience instead of out of true love. It's a manipulation game of what you can get from one another. Now, I want everybody to understand that this is not a social topic. This is an example I'm putting together for diversity of thought. And the process is very clear. When you take the time to see what you need to improve on in yourself, that means you have to be a good listener. Because it all starts with you. You have to be a good communicator. And some good communicators I can name right off the bat. Very influencing. Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Marcus Garvey, Huey Newton. Believe it or not, Barack Obama. He's a very good communicator. Very charismatic. So was Bill Clinton. And that's where individuals, they can get individuals to listen to them. And you have some YouTubers like Ringo TV Raw, Angry Man, Brother O'Shea Jackson, to name a few. They communicate a message clearly, and you can understand it. Even they put all the tricks, bells and whistles behind their videos. But at the end of the day, that's one phase. But you have to be able to listen. And listening, I believe, is the hardest part of any diversity of thought. You want to just defend your point. Sometimes you got to hold your tongue, be tactful. Don't cover your ears up. And again, when somebody's talking directly about you, okay, respond. You can defend your point. However, if you're listening to somebody, let's say I'm using the term a number or percentage. If that person responds, I'm talking about that person because they're listening, but they really aren't listening. They'll tell you they're listening. It's like telling them something and they're shaking their head. Yeah, I got it. They really don't have it. And my words that I always say, doesn't apply, let it fly. But if the shoe fits, you're wearing it. And if you don't like the shoe, you better fix it. Because at the end of the day, it is going to be all about you and your self-destruction. Number 2, to alleviate a bunch of selfishness. Learn how to negotiate, compromise. Learn that everything is not going to be your way. It's impossible. Because if you are building a business and you can't network or communicate with any other businesses, and to give another shout out to Brother Ringo TV Raw, because he said it best yesterday when it comes to YouTube. And this part of the video, I am going to use when it comes to negotiation and networking, because in any forum or any business or anything you do in life, when you network, you're also going to negotiate, because you're giving that other party something, and in return, you're getting something. And this is what brothers on YouTube need to do. Stop trying to hold all the shine for yourself, because you don't get anywhere being selfish, except alone. And this is why you don't grow. Networking and negotiation are pivotal. Also, conflict resolution. Don't be disagreeable to be disagreeable. If you're going to disagree with my point of view, be able to offer a plan in exchange for mine. Because you can tell me, well, I don't like your plan. That's fine. But I'm going to ask you, what's your plan? And if you don't have a plan, then all you're doing is disagreeing with the position, even if you don't even understand my plan. And that's where we get the faults from. And also, don't respond to everything with emotion. If you take the emotion out of the issue and you actually hear and you can dissect the information that's being brought to your hand, you understand it a lot better. And you're more into the realistic points of views. And you take the information that doesn't make sense and just siphon it out. Because at the end of the day, a diversity of thought starts with some theory or some application. But you got to apply the principles that I just mentioned. Proper listening, communication, negotiation, and conflict resolution skills. And those of you who attend college, make sure that you are getting that education. Because at the end of the day, if you only see one side of the equation, then you're getting an indoctrination from that one side. This is why a number of college students, when they step out of the institution, number one, they can't find jobs because they haven't been taught how to negotiate. They've been taught how to regurgitate something that somebody is telling them, even if it's not truthful. They haven't been taught to challenge it, but they've been taught to listen, which is a good thing, because in college, and I'm utilizing college right now, the instructor is the head. So you want to listen. And that is good, because in an organization, you must listen to your management, vice president, president, which are part of your executive management. That's good. Also, you need to, in class, see if you can have dialogue. I think too many of us get caught up in the debate, but a proper dialogue allows a lot of information to be brought to the surface, and you can communicate it back and forth. Because negotiation and conflict skills come from groupthink projects. And I think colleges should have more group projects because utilizing other people can help you grow immensely. That's why having a business, I'm a civil engineer. But if I just utilize my civil engineering skills, I wouldn't have a good business. Why? Because there are other attributes that I am not proficient in. I'm not an IT specialist. I'm not an HR specialist. So what do? I go out and utilize those other businesses to help me with my business. See, nobody is totally independent. You might think you are, but you're not. Again, it involves listening. And if you can have conflict resolution, come to an understanding. That's what I mean by conflict resolution. And if you do it properly, you have now become diplomatic and you can work together. Because you have to be coachable. And coaching is also part of a diversity of thought. And leadership. So what I'm trying to do is tie listening, leadership, trying to tie all these different topics together so you can think a little bit better. And what I mean thinking, you have a topic, you want to bring it to the forefront, you must listen to other topics. It's about growth, collaboration, group studies. Number of individuals, they come to the well ready to drink. That's fine. But if there's no water in that well, if you use your own mind, you're going to try to go down in the well and find that water, right? There's no water down there. But if somebody's telling you another way to get water without the well and you don't listen, you're still going to be thirsty. Point number 2, with the well example, negotiation. You might have to give something to get water from this other source without using a well. You might have to sign a contract, which is a negotiation. You might have a disagreement in the way the communication is being presented. You can resolve that with what we call conflict resolution. It's not about being agreeable and disagreeable all the time. It's about coming to a consensus. If you understand that, you can grow. And at the end of the day, growth is also being coached. Don't see everything from your point of view. And this is what people without the diversity of thought do. They have the hardest time making it in any situation. That's why people go in and out of relationships, in and out of jobs. And you notice individuals like that tend to blame somebody else. No, it's not anyone else's fault. It's your fault. Because you don't want to practice the principles that I've mentioned in this video. Again, repetition is the mother of all teachings, and I'm going to give you the principles again. Listening, communication, negotiation, conflict resolution skills, and you must be coachable. But before you can set sail into the land of diversified thought, you must know who you are. And you must be able to take the repercussions and the consequences if your decisions don't work out. But also, you take the praise if your decisions do work out. But at the end of the day, growth is encapsulated with understanding what's being said, how to communicate it back to the presenter, how to negotiate it, and then if you have a little bit of disagreement, how to resolve it. And that's this commentary for this edition of the 411 Talk Zone Radio Show here on Saturday, November 26, 2016. You can tune into the 401 Talk Zone Radio Show every Wednesday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. That's on Blog Talk Radio. Guest calling number is 215-383-5785. And if you like my videos, please share and subscribe to the 401 Talk Zone Radio Show so I can continue to give you quality information for educational purposes from a professional, mature perspective. And on this channel, we don't engage in any debate or controversial issues, and nor do we participate in drama, because we are an educational channel. So we want to keep everything knowledge-based. If you have a topic, please share it with me in my email. In other words, my email address is lej6521@gmail.com. Just leave all of your topic suggestions. And that's if you have a topic or business that you want me to discuss on YouTube and Blog Talk Radio. Also, if you have a comment, please make sure that your comments are pithy. Leave in the comment section. And no bloviating with the topics. Be intelligent and respectful. And no pettifogging. And that's it. Till next time. Again, my name is Leon Jones. Remember, please be gentle and respectful to each other. And have a wonderful and blessed afternoon. And also, I'm taking the following from Brother Ringo TV Raw from his channel. In my video, where I have all my links, there's a link to a number of brothers' channels. Go click on their channels. Have Ringo Raw TV, Brother Ron Wills, Angerman, O'Shea Jackson, and a lot of others. And I'm going to be putting those channels